Have you ever lost someone so close that it felt like your world was shattered beyond repair? Losing a spouse is one of the hardest challenges life can throw at us, leaving us wondering how we can move forward. But what if I told you 5 powerful secrets that can help you survive this heartbreaking loss and thrive in the aftermath? In today's video, we will uncover these secrets and show you how you can find new purpose, rediscover joy, and honor your spouse's memory while still embracing life. Stay with me until the end because you won't want to miss the final key that will help you unlock a future filled with hope, healing, and even happiness once again. Before we begin, I would appreciate it if you like this video. You can continue to spread the old age lesson. If you haven't subscribed yet, I recommend you subscribe and turn on the bell so you don't miss any videos. If you like this video, please comment number 1. If you don't like it, comment number 0 to let me know so I can make a better video for you. Now let's get started. Number 1. Immersing in excessive grief for too long. When a partner who has shared your life for many decades passes away, the emotional void left behind is profound. Even with the presence of children, it's difficult to fill the space that was once occupied by your spouse. That space belongs solely to them, a sacred corner of your heart where memories of your life together linger, and you find yourself hesitating to move forward. The emotional weight is often overwhelming, pulling you back to moments filled with nostalgia, where the past seems more vivid than the present. Rashly, now 67, recounts her own experience. When I was 64, my husband passed away. In those first few months after his death, I struggled to accept the reality of my loss. I felt like I was drifting through life without purpose, like a shell of my former self. Everything seemed meaningless. There were countless nights where I cried myself to sleep or couldn't sleep at all, staring at the vast, empty bed that once held us both. It felt unbearable to be in that space alone. She continues, but whenever I looked at our old photographs, where we smiled together so happily, I thought maybe I should persist a little longer. I would tell myself, he wouldn't want me to live like this. Consumed by sadness, I came to realize that no amount of tears would bring him back. And if I continued to let grief consume me, I was doing neither of us any favors. Eventually, I understood that while I would always miss him, living while continuing to live a life that he would be proud of was the best way to honor his memory. Rashly's story is one of a slow, painful journey toward healing. The separation caused by death is indeed one of the most heartbreaking realities we face in life, but it's a necessary one. The past may be filled with beautiful memories, but constantly dwelling on those memories can prevent us from recognizing the beauty that still exists in the present and the hope that lies ahead in the future. By learning to look forward, we don't just honor ourselves, but also allow our deceased loved ones to rest in peace, knowing we are continuing to live. When a spouse passes away, the first step is to stay calm and avoid letting grief consume your mind entirely. It's important to take care of your health, to find moments of peace, and to permit yourself to grieve without letting it dominate your existence. Slowly, as time passes, you can begin to adjust your mindset, regain confidence, and rediscover how to live a fulfilling, independent life. It's vital to embrace the small joys, whether it's eating a comforting meal, going for a walk in the park, or simply strolling through familiar streets. Avoid relying too heavily on others for your happiness. Instead, learn to savor your solitude with a sense of grace and wisdom, as though you are sipping a fine, aged wine, each moment rich and full of life, even in its quiet stillness. When loneliness feels too heavy to bear, reaching out to friends and talking about anything and everything can lift your spirits. Sharing in conversation, laughter, and simple companionship can help ease the isolation. This way, even in the later stages of life, you can find moments of joy and peace, learning to cherish both the company of others and the solace of your presence. If you are still watching this video and finding these lessons useful, please comment number 1 below to let me know that you are still watching this video with me. Thank you for your valuable time. Number 2. Over-relying on children for the rest of your life. When you reach old age and your spouse is no longer around, the people who feel closest to you are often your children. Many single parents envision moving in with one of their children as an ideal retirement plan, believing it will provide companionship and security. However, times have changed. Nowadays, young people are more independent and prefer to live separately from their elderly parents. This isn't just due to differences in lifestyles, but also reflects divergent views on spending, consumption, and even parenting. Some elderly, after losing their spouse, yearn for their children to be with them constantly, or at least for the children to invite them to move in temporarily. They often see this as a natural extension of filial piety, believing that their children must care for them. However, they sometimes overlook the fact that younger people also have their own families and face immense pressures that aren't always visible to the older generation. If these young adults spend too much time focusing on their aging parents, they may struggle to build and sustain their own lives and families. Take the story of Mrs. Howe, a 65-year-old widow. After her husband passed away, she initially moved in with her daughter's family. believing that this mutual support between parent and child was not only natural but expected. "I raised you when you were young, so it only makes sense that you care for me in my old age," she thought. Her daughter and son-in-law welcomed her into their home, especially since they had just welcomed a newborn baby, and Mrs. Howe took it upon herself to become an integral part of their household. At first, everything seemed to go smoothly. Mrs. Howe took on many household responsibilities and dedicated herself to caring for her grandson, finding joy in the role she played. Her daughter and son-in-law even gave her some money for living expenses each month. But as time went on, the situation began to shift. As her grandson grew older, the financial assistance from her daughter and son-in-law diminished, and eventually it stopped altogether because Miss Howe had her pension. However, her modest pension was not enough to cover the expenses for a household of 4. Mrs. Howe tried to address this with her daughter, mentioning the financial strain, but her daughter became increasingly dismissive, even impatient, often pretending to forget the conversation altogether. Living together also brought other tensions to the surface. Mrs. Howe, like many elderly parents, had her ideas about how things should be run in the household. She frequently criticized her daughter's spending habits, pointing out that she shopped online too often and didn't save for the future. She also disagreed with her daughter and son-in-law's approach to raising their son, feeling that they were too lenient and lacked the discipline that, in her opinion, was necessary for a child's development. Over time, these small disagreements built up and a rift developed between them. Her daughter and son-in-law began speaking to her in less respectful tones, and Mrs. Howe could feel the growing distance. Reflecting on her years living in her daughter's home, Mrs. Howe realized that her presence had gradually become more of a burden than a help. "When I suggested moving back to my own home, they said they would miss me, but I could tell they were relieved. It became clear that they needed me when my grandson was young, but now that they could manage on their own, my presence was no longer necessary." Mrs. Howe returned to her own home, and at first, the transition was difficult. She felt lonely and unoccupied. Without the busyness of helping with her grandson or the daily tasks that had filled her time, her days seemed empty. Yet over time, she began to embrace this solitude. Slowly, she rediscovered interests she had long neglected. She joined a calligraphy class and a local painting group, eventually making new friends who shared her hobbies. As her social circle expanded and her days became more fulfilling, she began to find peace in her independence. In hindsight, Mrs. Howe realized that she had been chasing the wrong vision of retirement. "I thought living with my daughter would bring me the comfort and companionship I craved after my husband passed away," she reflected. "But what I needed was to find my path. Now, with financial stability, freedom, and the leisure to do the things I love, I've finally found the retirement life I had longed for." Miss Howe's story illustrates an important lesson for many elderly parents. While it may be tempting to rely heavily on your children for companionship and support, this can lead to dependency that strains relationships over time. It's important to find ways to cultivate your independence, rediscover personal interests, and build a fulfilling life on your terms. Even as you cherish the time spent with your family, retirement can be a time of renewal and personal growth, as long as you don't lose sight of your own needs and desires in the process. Number 3. Rashly finding a new partner or remarrying. The notion that second marriages can be fraught with risks is often echoed in society. While this belief carries some truth, it's essential to recognize that the complexities surrounding elderly remarriages are nuanced and rooted in years of established habits and perspectives. As we age, our personalities, preferences, and certain selfish tendencies are often set in stone, making it particularly challenging to navigate the journey of life with a new partner in a genuinely harmonious way. For many, the loss of a spouse can evoke feelings of profound loneliness and an unsettling fear about the future. While the idea of finding a like-minded companion for mutual support can seem appealing, elderly remarriages are often laden with potential complications and risks that should not be overlooked. Finding someone who is both considerate and compatible is a daunting task, and making the wrong choice can lead to considerable turmoil in the later years of life. Take, for example, the experience of 62-year-old Mrs. Fong. She reflects on her journey through 2 marriages with a mix of sorrow and anger. "Having been through 2 marriages," she shares, "my first husband passed away when I was just 53. 3 years later, I ventured into another marriage, only to find myself divorced within a year. The memories of that second marriage still bring me pain and frustration. I feel compelled to share my story to caution others who might be considering remarriage." Mrs. Fong recounts how her life changed drastically after her first husband's death. "At the age of 50, I retired, filled with hopes of traveling with my husband after he too retired, eager to make up for lost time. However, fate had other plans, as he succumbed to illness before he could retire. His passing left me engulfed in deep grief for an extended period. My son, witnessing my profound sorrow, expressed his concern and even suggested that I live with him. Yet, I didn't want to impose on him, as I knew he had his own life and responsibilities. In an attempt to lift her spirits, her son suggested enrolling her in a senior travel group. but Mrs. Fong felt uncomfortable with the idea of relying on him. Instead, she decided to take matters into her own hands and signed up for a dance and poetry recitation class, hoping it would help her cope with her feelings. It was in this class that she encountered her second husband, Mr. Liu. At first, they were merely acquaintances. However, a turning point occurred when Mrs. Fong sprained her ankle while navigating the stairs. Mr. Liu immediately sprang into action, she recalls, helping me to the hospital and looking after me during my recovery at home. I missed class during this time, but he came by every day to assist me. Slowly but surely, we began to develop a deeper connection. Within just 2 months, Mr. Liu proposed to Mrs. Fong, expressing his desire to live together for mutual support. She felt a wave of happiness wash over her but chose not to respond immediately. I told him I would discuss it with my son first, she explains. While my son was not opposed to the idea, he suggested that we meet Mr. Liu's family to gauge their dynamics. Mr. Liu readily agreed to this arrangement, and that evening, both families shared dinner. Afterward, Mrs. Fong's son advised her to observe the relationship and to avoid rushing into marriage. However, she was so enchanted by Mr. Liu that she dismissed his cautionary advice, convinced that he was a good match for her. Soon after, they registered their marriage, and she moved into Mr. Liu's house. Initially, the transition was smooth. They got along well, though Mrs. Fong took on all the household chores without complaint, as she was accustomed to this role. However, the peace was short-lived. Conflicts began to arise when 3 old friends invited her to join them on a trip. She eagerly accepted the invitation, but Mr. Liu reacted with visible displeasure, arguing that if she left, no one would tend to the housework. This response struck Mrs. Fong as deeply unfair. She felt as though her entire identity had been reduced to a mere housekeeper. That day, their disagreement escalated into a fierce argument. He said hurtful things, she recalls, implying that I was worthless without my contributions to the household. For the first time, doubts about her marriage began to creep into her mind. Upon returning from the trip, the situation only worsened. Mr. Liu's son had gone through a divorce, leaving them to care for a young grandson. At first, Mrs. Fong willingly took on the responsibility of looking after him. However, as time went on, she found herself increasingly exhausted and overwhelmed, leading to yet another heated argument with Mr. Liu. This poignant narrative encapsulates the complexities and challenges that can accompany remarriage later in life, underscoring the importance of careful consideration and communication before embarking on this significant step. If you are still watching this video and finding these lessons useful, please comment number 2 below to let me know that you are still watching this video with me. Thank you for your valuable time. Number 4. Allow yourself to love again, in different forms. After losing a spouse, many individuals find themselves grappling with complex emotions, particularly guilt, when considering the idea of forming new emotional connections. The mere thought of opening one's heart to love again can evoke a sense of trepidation, as if doing so would somehow diminish or replace the deep bond that once existed. However, it's essential to recognize that love after loss does not mean erasing the past. Rather, it signifies an ongoing journey of embracing life and all its possibilities. The reality is that love manifests itself in myriad forms, and it is entirely natural and even necessary to allow yourself to experience those different expressions of love. For many, reconnecting with old friends can serve as a vital lifeline during such challenging times. These friendships, often steeped in shared history and mutual understanding, can provide comfort and companionship when navigating the complexities of grief. Engaging with friends who knew your spouse can evoke cherished memories, fostering a sense of continuity while also providing the opportunity to create new ones. As you laugh and share stories, you may find solace in the familiar rhythms of friendship, reminding you that connection is a fundamental part of the human experience. In addition to friendships, deepening family bonds can also play a significant role in healing. Family members, whether they are children, grandchildren, siblings, or even extended family, can offer a unique source of support and understanding. These relationships often come with their own set of shared memories, joys, and challenges, allowing for a mutual exploration of grief and resilience. By spending quality time together, whether through family gatherings, shared meals, or simple moments of connection, you can nurture these relationships and foster a sense of belonging. This deepened familial love not only helps in healing but also reinforces the idea that you are not alone in your journey. As you navigate the landscape of love after loss, it's also important to consider the potential for new romantic companionship. This can be one of the most daunting aspects of moving forward. The fear of forgetting your spouse or being perceived as unfaithful to their memory can be overwhelming. However, finding new love does not mean abandoning the past. It can coexist alongside the treasured memories you hold dear. Allowing yourself to explore the possibility of new romantic connections opens the door to fresh joy and intimacy. This new companionship can bring a different kind of fulfillment, enriching your life and providing a renewed sense of hope. Experiencing love again is not just about romantic relationships. It encompasses a broader spectrum of connection. You are entitled to feel joy, intimacy, and warmth in various aspects of your life. Embracing love, whether through friendships, familial ties, or new romantic endeavors, is crucial for your emotional well-being and healing. Engaging in these relationships does not dishonor your spouse's memory. On the contrary, it honors the love you shared by choosing to live fully and meaningfully. It's essential to remember that allowing yourself to love again is a testament to your resilience and capacity to embrace life's changes. By fostering new connections, you enrich your experience and open yourself to the possibilities that lie ahead. Love is a fundamental human need, and by permitting yourself to pursue and cultivate these relationships, you are acknowledging the beauty of life and the many ways it can be expressed. If you are still watching this video and finding these lessons useful, please comment number 3 below to let me know that you are still watching this video with me. Thank you for your valuable time. Number 5. Honor their memory while moving forward. One of the most profound and powerful secrets to thriving after the loss of a spouse lies in the ability to carry their memory with you in a manner that uplifts your spirit and nourishes your soul. The process of honoring your loved one does not necessitate an abandonment of your journey. Rather, it invites a beautiful coexistence between remembrance and renewal. Finding ways to celebrate and honor their memory can provide comfort and serve as a meaningful anchor as you navigate the complexities of grief. Creating small rituals can be a powerful way to honor your spouse's memory. This could take many forms, such as visiting a special place that held significance for both of you, perhaps a favorite park, a cherished restaurant, or even a spot where you shared memorable moments. These visits can evoke fond memories, allowing you to feel their presence and reflect on the beautiful moments you shared. Another meaningful ritual might involve lighting a candle on their birthday or during significant anniversaries, creating a moment of quiet reflection where you can express your love and gratitude for the time you had together. This simple act can foster a deep connection, allowing you to pause, remember, and feel their spirit enveloping you. You may also consider continuing a shared project or pursuing an activity that was important to them. This could be anything from engaging in a hobby you both enjoyed, volunteering for a cause they were passionate about, or even nurturing a garden you tended together. By actively participating in these endeavors, you honor their legacy while simultaneously fostering your growth and joy. These actions serve as reminders that love is not bound by physical presence. It transcends into the experiences and memories you cultivate. However, it is crucial to balance these rituals with the understanding that life continues to unfold, and you possess every right to embrace it fully. Moving forward does not equate to leaving your spouse behind. Instead, it means finding a harmonious way to integrate their memory into your daily life while allowing yourself the freedom to grow and experience new things. Your spouse would undoubtedly want you to lead a life filled with purpose, joy, and fulfillment. By honoring their memory, you not only pay tribute to the love you shared, but also pave the way for new possibilities and happiness. As you navigate this path, let their love be a guiding light. Allow it to inspire you to pursue your passions, embrace new opportunities, and cultivate connections with others. Honor their memory by living a life that reflects the values and dreams you both cherished. In doing so, you create a future that pays homage to your shared past while welcoming the potential for new joy and fulfillment. In essence, honoring your spouse's memory while moving forward is about embracing the richness of your experiences together and allowing that love to shape the journey ahead. As you carry their spirit with you, remember that it is entirely possible to cherish the past while wholeheartedly embracing the present and future. By integrating their memory into your life in meaningful ways, you can create a beautiful tapestry of love, resilience, and hope that honors both your journey together and the individual path you now walk. Now that we've explored the 5 secrets to thriving after losing a spouse, what have you learned so far? We'd love to hear from you. Comment below and share one thing you've learned from this video that you're going to bring into practice in your own life. Remember, healing is a journey, and taking even one step can make a world of difference. If you liked this video, please leave your comment below, and don't forget to like, share, and subscribe to our YouTube channel for more inspiring content that helps you navigate life's toughest challenges.